Hello, my darlings, and welcome to a new episode of After Dark Fairy Tales. I have a new tale for you guys, and the title of this one is called Nitro Lipstick. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to let you decide who wrote it at the end. No, I'm just kidding. The story was written by Prince Narrator, and I'm sure you guys already know who that is. But I'm going to admit the story is not horror. It's more thriller, suspense, espionage. And it is a bit graphic, so if it makes any of you uncomfortable, please turn it off. But I hope some of you will keep listening, and I hope you'll enjoy it. To all my new subscribers, I would like to say welcome to After Dark Fairy Tales, and I hope you're enjoying the content and my narration. So you guys ready to find out what Nitro Lipstick is about? Here we go. 10 years ago, killing did not come naturally for me. The military reprogrammed me to kill. Do I like my job? Only when I'm killing bad guys. My name is Ivana Rose. I used to be a U.S. Marines Army captain. Now I work for the division of the CIA, a top secret division. I'm a sleep-deprived government killer. I'm also a mom who loves her boys and a wife who adores her husband. Oh God, I know that sounded corny just now, but it's true. Yeah, but anyway, my first assassin job was a little messy and scary. I had to kill a corrupt Russian diplomat named Arnold Puchkova. The CIA wanted Puchkova dead after they discovered that he was using a covert top-secret militia group to assassinate American troops. The agency wanted to kill this guy up close. I had to become a Russian escort. An escort is a prostitute, just in case you didn't know. The CIA found out that Mr. Puchkova loved sleeping with prostitutes. He paid for sex like it was his day job. Normally, he would have 2 girls sent to his room, and that's exactly what he did on the night he died. He loved having threesomes, so it was me and another prostitute being sent up to his room. I had on a low-cut, sparkling floral dress, and my coworker wore a crystal blue mini dress. I liked her dress more than mine. But anyway, when the bodyguards ushered us into Mr. Puchkova's hotel room, he was already naked. Seeing this naked man with boobs and a potbelly was the most disgusting thing I had ever witnessed. The man's chest was so flabby that he needed a bra. He had a belly that would put a pregnant woman to shame. I mean, when I was pregnant with my boys, my belly was small compared to the size of this guy's stomach. I felt sick when I saw this guy dancing around his hotel room to Russian hip-hop. He was smiling at us and wiggling his fat ass. He got on top of the bed and started gyrating. He looked like our former 45th president, but with a beard. He had orange skin and a lot of blubber fat. You're gonna hate me for this, but imagine Donald Trump naked and dancing like a stripper in front of you. That's the best way I can describe this asshole. I hope I didn't make you sick with that description. Sorry. I thought killing Mr. Puchkova would be easy, but it wasn't. The agency didn't give me a gun because they knew Mr. Puchkova's bodyguards would frisk me, which is exactly what they did. They even put their hands up my dress. My orders were to kill Mr. Puchkova using an object in his hotel room as a weapon. I felt trapped in this man's room, and I saw nothing in the room that I could use as a weapon. Having sex with this guy, who was not my husband, did not come naturally for me. I was naked, and so was the other prostitute. It seemed like his fat ass was on top of me more than the other girl. He had bad breath and a double chin, or a triple chin. He looked like a giant toad with a toupee and a beard. I kept seeing myself kissing Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. It was so gross. I had to wait for him to get nice and comfortable before I could assassinate him. When he put his hands on my boobs, that's when I knew I had to kill this guy quickly. I tried to get on top of him, but he wouldn't let me. The other prostitute was behind him, and she was kissing and licking on his back. She kept peeking over his shoulder at me while smirking. I felt scared because I didn't know how I would kill this guy. I didn't have a gun. I thought about killing him with my bare hands, but I had just gotten my nails done. I kept thinking about my husband, who at the time was my fiancé. Thinking about my husband kept me from throwing up on Mr. Puchkova. Seeing this fat man's titties hanging over my face made my stomach churn. There I was, naked with this whale on top of me. I could see every blemish and bump on his sweaty skin. I panicked when he leaned down and kissed me. He tried to put his enormous tongue down my throat, and it felt like a cold, wet fish trying to push its way past my lips. Oh, God. Something happened while I was kissing me. He gurgled in my mouth. I gagged when he did that. I kept trying to stop myself from puking while he was kissing me, but I couldn't hold it anymore when I realized he had coughed up blood in my mouth. I spewed the Mediterranean dinner I ate last night all over this fat pig's face. I got so sick that I didn't realize the other prostitute was stabbing him in his back. The other escort was a secret agent like me, but she was a veteran. I thought the agency sent only me to kill this guy, but they secretly gave me a partner. Her name was Cecilia. She sounded like a spy. I discovered that the agency gave Cecilia the order to assassinate Mr. Puchkova instead of me. They sent me with her to be a decoy. Cecilia killed Mr. Puchkova with a small ballistic knife that looked like a lipstick case. She stabbed the fat bastard in the back while he was kissing me. He coughed blood in my mouth when she stabbed him in the back of his neck. I think she stabbed him about 14 times before he finally died. I was happy that he was dead, but I was mad at the agency for making me think I was alone on an assassination mission. I was also mad at Cecilia for stabbing this fat-ass guy in the neck while he was kissing me. She made him cough blood in my mouth, which made me puke out my husband's cooking. Me and Cecilia became friends, but I was mad at her ass that night. I couldn't stay mad at Cecilia for long because me and her had to kill Mr. Puchkova's bodyguards. The 3 guys busted into the room when they heard the commotion. The bodyguards looked like they belonged in a boy band. They were bulky, but they had boyish faces. They also looked like mafia nightclub bouncers because of their black suit jackets and their black denim jeans. All 3 of them had gold chains around their necks, which made them look like wannabe rap stars. They were big, young, healthy guys, but they died in that hotel room. Killing Puchkova's bodyguards was fairly easy. Cecilia threw her lipstick knife at one guy before he could shoot her. I threw a pillow at another guy. I know what you're thinking. Please don't laugh at me. I didn't have a fancy lipstick knife like my partner. All I could get my hands on was a damn pillow, and it worked. I also used Mr. Puchkova's dead body to shield myself from the bullets. I was still in the bed with this fat slob on top of me. Cecilia was already out of the bed fighting a guy. She shot the guy with his gun after breaking his arm. I envied her that night. She was doing everything I wanted to do. I finally got my ass out of the bed so I could fight. A bullet grazed my shoulder, but that didn't stop me from breaking a guy's leg. He threw me up against the wall, but I snapped his wrist, forcing him to release my throat. I drove the palm of my hand into his neck, and I smashed his larynx. The art of killing did come naturally for me. I learned how to do it through years of training in the army. Me and Cecilia killed 3 armed men within 4 minutes. We became secret agent sisters. We got matching tattoos of a half butterfly. I had the left half of a butterfly tattooed on my shoulder, and Cecilia had the right half tattooed on hers. Whenever we put our shoulders together, the butterfly would be complete. The agency kept assigning us to go on missions together because we worked well together. We assassinated dictators, terrorist leaders, and corrupt politicians. Most of the men and women we assassinated deserved what they got. We killed a corrupt German politician who was secretly paying an underground terrorist group to abduct people so he could sell their body parts to research medical facilities on the foreign black market. Me and Cecilia killed his ass before he could harm any more people. We surprised him in his house in the middle of the night. We caught this son of a bitch molesting his grandson in the bathroom. As you already know, I'm a mother of 2 boys, so this enraged me. Cecilia snatched up the little boy and she took him out of the bathroom. I tortured the guy who reminded me of an evil English professor. He had short silver hair made up into swooping curls, and he had a hooked nose that held his frameless eyeglasses. He looked like an eagle that became a tall middle-aged man. He was big and muscular for an old man. He thought he could take me since he towered over me, but I brought him down to his knees using his necktie. It gave me great pleasure to cut his tongue out of his mouth because he talked too much. I also cut his tongue out of his mouth as a retaliation for punching me in the face. I know this is a bit graphic, but I threw his severed tongue in the toilet and I made his ass flush it. He was bleeding like a pig all over the bathroom floor. He kept begging me not to shoot him, but it's kind of hard to beg for your life when you can't talk. I pulled out my Glock 19 and I shot this bastard in his face with no hesitation. All I kept seeing was him abusing his toddler grandson. He had the baby in the bathtub and the boy was naked. The boy was crying for his grandfather to stop. After I killed the German politician, child molester, me and Cecilia took the man's grandchild to the hospital. I was holding the little boy in my lap and I wrapped him up in a blanket. The boy was shivering and crying. He kept saying something to me in German. I think he was saying to me, "I want my mommy." I wanted to cry while looking at all the burn marks and bruises on his little body. What kind of human being would do this to a child? That German statesman jackass wasn't a grandfather. He was the devil. I tried to comfort the poor baby and I kept thinking about my 2 boys. Cecilia tried to comfort the kid too, but she had to keep her eyes on the road. She was doing close to 90 miles per hour in her white Porsche 911 Turbo. Cecilia reached over to caress the little boy's head, and she almost rear-ended a semi-truck. Cecilia swerved her sports car around the truck just in time. I can remember feeling my heart in my throat. After we saved that baby and killed his corrupt politician grandfather, me and Cecilia felt good that day. The agency even put a little extra money in our paychecks. Me and Cecilia celebrated that night. We had a little ladies' night out. We went to a shopping spree and we went to a few nightclubs. I thought my friendship with Cecilia would never end, but it did. What is a woman to do when she finds out that her longtime girlfriend is a double agent? I remember Cecilia telling me, "Trust no one," through her Brazilian accent. She told me this a few nights ago while we were having dinner at her fancy Manhattan apartment. I think she was giving me a hint about herself, but it didn't register at the time. I guess I'm stupid. I couldn't see why she was getting so close to me. She worked for another agency within the CIA. I knew nothing about this agency until now. We were 2 blonde-haired beauties working together as government assassins, and now we were enemies. I intercepted a text message to a government phone given to Cecilia. I became suspicious after the agency began sending Cecilia on missions without me. I didn't know who I was working for. An undisclosed agency within another undisclosed agency. I know you're probably just as confused as I was. Trust me, my head was spinning after I found out that a mysterious man sent a team of assassins to kill people who worked for a pharmaceutical corporation. My husband was on the corporation's board of directors, and Cecilia was an assassination team sent to kill him and some of his colleagues. I found out that Cecilia worked for a man who ran an undisclosed foreign agency that was being funded by the CIA. The man also received funds from Russian intelligence agencies. He had investments in the pharmaceutical corporation that my husband worked for. A percentage of his money went into my husband's salary and the salary of the other company directors. Someone on the board of directors found out that the undisclosed agency man who owned part of the corporation had other shady investments. One of them was an investment in a child trafficking ring. There was a whistleblower on the board of directors, and that whistleblower turned out to be my husband. My husband did some digging using the help of his friend, who was a former computer hacker, and he found out about the child sex trafficking investor who was paying a part of his salary. I found out that Cecilia worked for the man who owned the undisclosed agency. I didn't know the name of her boss at the time. All I knew is that her boss was an evil man who had the CIA in his back pocket. I didn't know if he was running an independent rogue agency or if he was working for the Russians. I did know that he sent Cecilia to my house to assassinate my husband and my children. He sent other assassins to the homes of my husband's colleagues who found out about his dark, underhanded investments. Some of my husband's colleagues tried to escape the country after they found out that an evil investor put a contract out on their lives, but the man's assassins executed them before they could reach an airport. The assassin who came to my home found me instead of my husband. I knew Cecilia was coming. My husband and my boys weren't at home. I sent them out of the country, and they were staying at a hotel in Naples, Italy, guarded by a group of men who worked for me. The group of men used to be U.S. Marines who were part of my squadron. Remember, I used to be an Army captain before the CIA recruited me. Killing Cecilia didn't come naturally for me. She was my partner, and I thought I could trust her. We went on countless missions together. She was like the sister I never had. Now I was fighting my sister in the living room of my house, in the dark. She was always the better fighter, but I was smarter. She tried to shoot me in the head, but her gun jammed. I saw that as a miracle straight from God. I kept trying to remind her of our friendship while we were hurling each other around the living room. I told her we could have a second chance at being friends. I tried to talk her into leaving the evil man she worked for and his undisclosed agency, but she wouldn't listen to me. It was like she had been hypnotized, like a machine that had been programmed. We fought for an hour. She would kick me and I would punch her. Neither one of us wanted to kill each other, but I knew that one of us had to die. While I was fighting Cecilia, I kept thinking about when we first worked together, disguised as Russian prostitutes. I thought about our butterfly tattoos. It was like being friends with an angel and then finding out that you were friends with a demon the whole time. As I fought with Cecilia, my body did things I didn't know it was capable of doing. It's amazing what adrenaline can make your body do when you're trying to survive. I did backflips off my living room wall, and I could barely do a backflip as a cheerleader in high school. Punches and side kicks shot out from me so fast that my brain didn't have time to register what my body was doing. My self-defense moves were automatic. Amazingly, my hands could block Cecilia's stabbing motions toward me. I would use the side of my hands to knock her arm off the path, misdirecting her knife, watching the blade slice past my face. Every time I'd cause her to miss, I would seize the opportunity to drive my fist into her face or ram my foot into her midsection. I cried after I killed Cecilia. She tried to stab me, but I wrestled the knife away from her and I had to cut her throat. I cried when I saw that she tried to kill me with the same knife she used to kill the Russian diplomat. It was the same ballistic knife that looked like a lipstick case. I was glad that I protected my husband and my boys, but I was sad about killing Cecilia. After I killed her, I held her body in my arms while sitting on my living room floor, her blood stained, my hands in my dress. I thought about my next target. It was the evil man who Cecilia worked for. The man who sent Cecilia to kill my husband after my husband discovered that he was investing in child prostitution. I planned to kill this sick bastard for putting a contract on my husband. I planned to kill him for trafficking children. I also planned to kill him for turning Cecilia against me. He programmed Cecilia to kill anyone, even her partner and best friend. That night, I gathered every weapon I needed. I had a duffel bag full of hand grenades and high-powered rifles. I called in some of my men for backup, threw the bag into the trunk of my car, and I began my mission to find and kill the man responsible for this mayhem. I drove my customized Dodge Charger like I was Danica Patrick. My race car driving skills reflected the rage that burned within me. The streetlights were a blur. I gunned the engine, and I had my hip-hop playlist booming through my car's media interface. There was nothing sweeter than hearing my favorite hip-hop star darlings, Pop Smoke and Lil TJ the King, rapping over my car's roaring 700 horsepower engine. I had the turbocharger working overtime, and my muscle car sedan had a nitrous system, which I used to increase my speed after I drove into the interstate. Having a built-in nitrous system in your car was like equipping it with a rocket launcher. There wasn't a lot of traffic on the highway that night. The few drivers that were on the road that night got the chance to see a steel gray metallic sedan with blacked out windows roar past their car faster than a bullet train. I roared past a group of teenage boys in a pimped out convertible, and I could almost hear them cheering me on after they saw what my car could do. I would estimate that I was old enough to be their mom, but something told me that they would view me as the coolest mom in the world. I knew that none of them had ever seen a family sedan with fire shooting out of its exhaust tips, like afterburners on a fighter jet. In war, you learn how to be a step ahead of your enemy. That night, I was a step ahead of mine. He didn't know that I was coming for him. It took me a few hours to reach an empty parking lot where I met with the soldiers of fortune who worked for me. I gave them the duffel bag with all the ammunition they needed. I gave them 15 fragmentation hand grenades, 3 semi-automatic rifles, and 3 AM-20 SMG submachine guns. Their job was to shut down the child trafficking ring owned by the man I was going to kill. My job was to confront him as the prostitute he ordered to meet at a Las Vegas hotel room. I left the guns with my men, and I took a man with me who acted as my bodyguard. With the help of my team, we intercepted the prostitute who was sent to the hotel to meet the target. She was scared and pleaded for us not to kill her, but I told her that we only needed her face and her identity. I gave her a sedative that knocked her out, and we used a 3D printing machine to replicate the prostitute's face. After I took her clothes, my men put her in the back of a van that we designed to look like an ambulance. I wore the prostitute's replicated face as a mask, and her hot pink skin-tight leather skirt was a bit uncomfortable around my hips, but I managed. I flaunted my low-cut leopard print strapless crop top, and I loved how it revealed my belly button piercing. If this is how Russian prostitutes dress, I felt like I should dress like a call girl more often. There was a bit of familiarity in my mission. I began my covert assassin career posing as a prostitute. Now I was doing it all over again, but this time without my partner. In a way, I still had Cecilia with me. I still had her lipstick knife as a keepsake. This was my weapon of choice. The man I killed in the hotel room was similar to the Russian diplomat. I know his name, but I'm not going to tell you because he doesn't deserve to be known. It took me no time to meet him in the hotel room. His men frisked me, and I could feel them getting a little pleasure from stroking their hands down my thighs and my legs. One bodyguard frisked me a little too long in my midsection right below my breast. I could feel him getting aroused. I couldn't remember what happened during the span of time that led up to my meeting of my target. A bloodthirsty focus possessed me. We wasted no time in the hotel room. I'll admit, this target was light years more attractive than the Russian diplomat. He wasn't a big fat slob. He was tall, with a blondish crew cut that complemented his angular, handsome face. His suit was impeccable, and when he took his clothes off, I got an up-close look at his chiseled six-pack. He turned me on a little, and it was a shame that I had to execute him. Once I got on top of him in the bed, his ass was mine. I stroked my fingers down his body, builder-sized arms, and it scared me a little, how the muscles in his arms felt like steel. He told me how beautiful I looked and that he just wanted to have normal sex without chains or whips. He showed me that he wore protection, and he told me that he would go hard, but he promised that the condom wouldn't break. I was just sitting on top of him, staring down with an amused smirk on my face. His large, rock-hard hands were groping my butt. I unfastened my bra and let him put his hands on my breast. I wanted him to get nice and comfortable. Letting him insert his penis in me was a hell of a risk, but I could feel the Trojan holding its integrity. I kept thinking about my husband, trying not to lose sight of my mission. His bodyguards frisked me, but they didn't think to frisk my hair. The lipstick knife was beneath my wig. "I'll do anything for you, baby." I leaned down, whispering those words in his ear. I stroked my hand across the tattoo of a crucifix on his chest. Both of our bodies were getting sweaty. My thighs were around his hips, and I kept myself on top of him, letting him fuck me. Excuse my language, but there's a difference between that and lovemaking. My husband, it's lovemaking, and even though this guy was sexy, I felt nothing for him. I moaned and groaned, and I almost enjoyed feeling his cock inside me, but I told my body not to enjoy it. We rocked back and forth on the bed. Our sweat intermingled. He leaned up for a kiss, and I brought my lips down on him, indulging him in his every desire, wanting him to believe that he was in paradise and that my vagina was his own private island. Like a tiger, waiting in the shadows, I waited for the right time to annihilate my prey. As I locked my lips with my target, I slowly reached up to pull the lipstick knife from under my wig. The target was imprisoned by my kiss, and I used my lips as a secondary weapon. I waited for him to reach his climax. He came in me like a bunny coming for a carrot. Without the condom, he would have unloaded inside me. Disgusting pig. I took my lips away while at the same time removing the knife from his throat. The severed his jugular vein, shooting blood all over the place. He didn't realize what had happened until I stabbed him in the throat a second time. Blood spewed out on the pillow. It looked like a crimson red fountain. I stabbed him again, but this time in his left eye. I rotated the blade, turning his eyeball into a frappe. A uttered shock whimper came from his throat. I watched as the light fizzled out in his remaining eye. I leaned down to kiss him for the final time before plunging the lipstick knife into his heart. My face was the last thing he saw. I hovered over his face, watching him bleed to death. He wanted to say something to me, but his breath departed from him. His hands went from grabbing my butt to dropping against my knees. At that exact moment, my phone rang. One of my men called me, letting me know that the shutdown of the sex trafficking ring was successful. None of my men were injured, and a medical team was on site tending to the children. I was told over the phone that one child was so malnourished that she didn't survive. The little girl died before the medical team arrived. After receiving the bad news, I took the phone away from my ear, looking down at my dead target. I thought about the little girl who couldn't be saved and how a mother out there would live out the rest of her life without her baby. I thought about my boys, and then I went berserk on my target. I stabbed him a few more times in his neck and torso, even though he was long gone. I heard 2 gunshots outside the hotel door. My bodyguard killed the man's 2 security guards right outside the door after receiving a signal from me that their boss was dead. I calmed myself down and I giggled a little after seeing how much time I wasted stabbing a dead body. My giggling was short-lived. I had a new job to do. There was other child sex trafficking rings out there that were owned by corrupt businessmen, and I had to find these men. On my new mission, I found comfort in knowing that Cecilia would still be with me. I had her lipstick knife close to my side, and when it came to killing a target, that's all I needed. So, did you guys like that one? I hope you did. I know it's a bit corny. I'm going to be honest, it's not one of my best stories, but if you guys liked it, you let me know. I just wanted to read it to you to see if you guys would enjoy it, but I wrote it a long time ago. And it's going through my amateur stage of writing, and I probably watched way too many Mission Impossible movies and other espionage movies, especially with female leads, so you let me know whether you liked it. But I'll be back next time with another After Dark fairy tale. And since it is Black History Month, I'll be presenting a story to you guys called Baby Boy Till. And I'm not going to tell you what that story is about, but hopefully you guys will like it. It might be a bit controversial. I might lose a few subscribers after I read it, but it is a part of our history, and I wanted to put it out there. So you guys will be hearing about that story soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you guys liked Nitro lipstick, and I hope you guys liked Ivana. It's a little weird espionage story I did, but I tried to make it entertaining. So you guys let me know what you think about it. And once again, I want to thank you guys for your support, and I'd like to welcome all the new subscribers. Thank you for coming to my channel and listening to the stories. So I hope you guys are blessed and enjoying yourselves, and until next time, I'll be back again. Good night, my darlings.